we were talking before about shifting from TV into feature films and your new partnership with Babalu Mandel. And you mentioned that Babalu was eager to get out of TV. He never liked it much. But one thing that's come through in the time we've been talking is your enthusiasm and love of TV. That goes back to when you were a kid. Did you make a conscious decision to leave TV for features, or was it just sort of something you got swept up in?
It was kind of a conscious decision. There was a lot of factors at work at once. There was a whole bunch of things sort of coming together. One was just purely personal. I had a young family. I had a baby in '78, a baby in '81, and I wanted to be home more. And I thought, as a screenwriter, I could control my hours better. But I wasn't going to just jump out of TV into screenwriting. I'm not a bold person. I keep both hands on the ladder, till I move up But I was looking for that, and I also said, as I was suggesting before, the pilot field was beating me up a little bit. If I'd have been on a show, a show I liked, and it had the sense of running, I don't think I would have left. But I didn't have a show. The pilot field was really rough. I don't know if it's gotten better or worse. This is like 30 years ago. And boy, you write a pilot and you go up there and get pilot notes, and man, they were specific and numerous. I can remember the first time we went in to get notes on a feature. I told my wife, I don't think I'll ever be coming back, because I was extrapolating from a 24-minute to a 104-minute. I said, I assume we'll be there for 19 hours. But it wasn't that way. It was different. It is more that way now, though, by the way. I say about movies now that they're like TV was 30 years ago. So I was ready for a change. I also, in some strange way, I know this is sort of odd and hard to pin down, I wanted to see what I could write. Not that I wasn't writing when I was in TV. I was, but it was a little different. Because I had been a showrunner, a producer, a head writer, it was a lot of patching, which I liked and which I think I was good at. But I actually was sort of getting the bug to do something more writery. I don't know. So there was that, and there was the personal thing, and there was the difficulty of the pilot world, and there was just the circumstance of Ron and Brian offering me a movie, and there was loving writing with Babalu and how much he was more inclined to do movies than TV. There were just a lot of things in the stew, that made it taste one way more than another. Like I say, my ambition had always been to work in TV.
Did you keep your TV deal, though? Did you still have
I kept it for a while. They overlapped. I didn't actually stop having a TV deal till my second movie, till we had a second feature in the theaters. And then, based on that, we got a lot of offers for feature work, a lot. And I felt okay.
So Night Shift, in some ways, was a reunion, Happy Days reunion. You were working with Henry Winkler and Ron Howard again.
Yeah.
Did that give you more comfort going into the feature world than perhaps if you'd been working with other people?
I've never had comfort. It was exciting. It was very exciting. I loved that I had co-written a movie. I felt, kind of, because I never expected to. I can't even, for Babalu, that was a dream come true. For me, it was not. It was an amazing surprise. Oh wow! Look at, so they're shooting it. People like it. So I can do that. It was more in that world. So I was kind of amazed. I thought people who were doing it was the same thing I said way back when we started this. I said I thought when I was writing sketches that people who could write a sitcom were like. Had this like weird kind of unbelievable mind that could make you could write a story. That's kind of all the time I was working at TV how I felt about screenwriters. I thought it was like this mysterious sort of fantastic gift that you got from somewhere, and you know. But no, you just kind of you apply yourself. You know.
Was there a big learning curve for you? Did you and Babalu have to read a lot of feature scripts, or?
No, again, you know, it's always like in the same sense that I discovered when I started working at TV that I had educated myself in TV, not meaning to, but that I had. By 1981, I had kind of educated myself in features. The movie business had sort of changed. You had all the SNL people were making movies, and you sort of loved those at that age. You were kind of, you know, the Belushi and Ackroyd and Bill Murray and you know, and Steve Martin, and you know, their movie careers had started, and you were kind of excited about that. You were going, oh, this is my generation's movies, and so you realized how much you kind of loved them. And there was a certain professionalism coming from television that you were able to like, oh, look what they did. I see what, yeah, that, nice. You know, and so you came into it, and the process of writing. I mean, the great thing about TV, among the many great things about TV, was just how much I wrote. I was saying, I wanted to see if I could really write, because the other was more like patchy. But over the course of like 8 years, just a huge amount of thing came out of my face and my hand and landed on the page, and people said it. I mean, just hours and hours and hours of writing. So, I mean, you really kind of accelerated. So, you know, I didn't feel completely. The thing was, the 23 or 24-minute format, I could look at like that wall, and I could see everything at once. If somebody changed something here in the second scene, I could say instantly, well, you know what that's going to do in the sixth scene. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have that there anymore. I mean, like, you know, I mean, my concentration was legendary at one time. I could sit in my office. We'd have, you know, 3 episodes in pre-production, 1 on the stage, 1 getting ready for next week, 2 we're editing. One of the writers could come in and go, why didn't his sister already know that he lost his job? I knew what scene he was in, what you know, what characters he was talking about, and I had an answer. Oh, because here's what you have to do. You have to explain that was when, you know, I had just become very practiced at that. And, you know, movies was like 4 walls. I couldn't, you know, I had no idea what was going on back there or over there while this was happening. It was just, you know, it was just trickier. Just the quantity of it kind of made it trickier. But we knew our story. We knew what story we wanted to tell. We knew what movie stories felt like. You know, it wasn't that. It was actually, I think, a little less daunting than I feared it would be. What
about the way you and Babalu wrote together? How is that different from the way you and Mark wrote together?
Not so much different. Babalu, from the very beginning, even before he had become a much better writer, Babalu was a champion joke writer. Like, they fell out of his face like you go, wow, it composes jokes like it's so easy, you know. Because I never felt that about myself, you know. I felt that the jokes were a little laborious for me. And then as time went on, he added a million other layers. He has a fantastic feel for where the audience is at any particular time in the movie, and the authenticity of characters. But so I felt an immediate ease in that this movie is going to be funny, even if I'm not funny at all. So that was a great relief. Not that Mark wasn't funny. Mark was very funny, but Babalu was like crazy funny. And so I was going, boy, I don't even think I have to be funny. You know, it's like I'll try to be funny, but that was great. And Babalu at first probably relied a little bit more on me to spin scenarios, because he hadn't quite done that yet, and I had done that a lot in TV. You know, that's how I made my bones. TV was spinning a story. So, but then he got good at that too. You know, he got good at everything. But so it was a little different. but he's just very different. He's just a very different personality, a very more relaxed personality, very more accommodating, very sweet guy.
Where did he get his name? Is it a nickname, Babalu?
It's a nickname. Yeah, I gave him his nickname. His real last name is Mandel, and when I met him, I was rereading Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth, and there's a little moment in where he describes this insane friend he has, whose last name is Mandel, in the book, who went down to the Brooklyn County Courthouse and had his first name legally changed to Babalu. I was just reading it at the same time I met him, and his name was Mandel, so I started calling him Babalu Mandel. And he decided that if it showed up on the screen, people would remember him.
What's
better
his
than
real
Mark
name?
Mandel.
Oh, Mark.
Mark, yeah. Both my writing partners are named Mark.
Does he have the Mark Mandel credit on any TV series, like his MASH work? Whatever?
I think his MASH work, he is Mark Mandel, because that was before he met me.
That's funny. So
Yeah.
it's not just a partnership, you also named him.
Yeah.
So after the success of Night Shift, you went and did Splash and got nominated for an Academy Award for your second feature. That had to feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Did it change things? Obviously, it's a dumb question. It must have changed things radically overnight for you.
Well, yeah, the main thing is people wanted to meet with us. People wanted to pitch us stories and get us to write movies for their, for their studio, for their company, if there was a director. So, that's a great thing, because now you go, okay, I that's a career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and so you didn't worry about your TV deal. Your TV deal lapsed, and you went, I'll get an office where we meet every day and write screenplays and get on with it.
Do you feel you write a certain kind of movie? Is there a Lowell Ganz, Babalu Mandel, not to say a formula, but something that instantly brands a movie as something that you guys have written?
Well, they're always they're really characters lost at sea. Where do I go from here? A character. I don't know what, life is a little bit bigger than I can handle it. And, and then it has a happy ending. We're pretty old fashioned, I guess. But we were considered old fashioned when we were young. I mean, when we were writing our early movies in the 80s, people used to say, what I like about you guys? You're very old fashioned, So, it's.
Well, your movies don't seem to be broad comedies. They seem to be, at heart, dramas in a way, and tap into a real emotional reality for audiences. Is that something you're consciously doing as you're writing?
Well, we're trying to write it. It's, our favorite joke is always the one that it's a Babalu to me wrote my all-time favorite Ganz and Mandel joke. He probably wrote my 5 favorite, but I'll say a couple. One is in League of Their Own. We do this really heartfelt scene where people in the audience actually cry, where this guy says goodbye to his daughter. They live together in a gymnasium in Colorado. They had the mother's gone, and he's sending her off to Chicago to be a ball player, and he's crying and she's crying, and then she's got to get on the. John Lovitz, who's playing a scout, is waiting for him to get on the train. And he says, see how it works is the train moves and not the station. It's like, get on. Audience screams because they believe he would say that, but it hasn't been a comedy scene. Mm-hmm. Or in Parenthood, near the end of the movie, Martin Mary Steenburgen get into this argument about the fact that he's a little too pessimistic about being a dad and his kids, and she's telling him that she's tired of his kind of existential angst and doesn't want to hear it anymore, and that your grandmother has a great idea about life. She's more positive than you are, and she's smarter than you are. She's brilliant, and he says, he looks at her, they were supposed to go somewhere. He says, if she's so brilliant, why is she waiting in my neighbor's car? It's that kind of thing, which again, is you don't see the joke coming, but you believe he would say it because he's mad at her and he wants to say a pissy line. But the scene has been totally not comedy. So those are sort of, we don't set out at the beginning of every movie, so we've got to find those 3 jokes that the audience doesn't see coming. But it's sort of our natural way as to when the characters are supposed to be talking to each other, they're supposed to be talking to each other. And they're not supposed to be thinking where the next joke is.
You talked earlier about Laverne and Shirley that you set out to do a hard comedy. But your films all have hard comedy moments in them, but they aren't hard comedies. They're much more grounded. Is that a conscious approach?
Well, we sort of came to it. I mean, Night Shift, we thought when we first started it would be, it would be big, raucous kind of thing. And then we found out that that's not that was just wasn't what we were going to do. We weren't comfortable with it. It had to be about this guy, and that his life was crap, and that he hated his life. It was a life of quiet desperation, and that's the way we wanted to do it, and that's what spoke to us, and that's what made it real to us, rather than, there'd be, brassieres falling out of out of closets every 2 minutes. We just went with what we were comfortable. And even Laverne and Shirley, which I said, was going to be a hard comedy. It was always very important to me that it was about two real legitimate losers. That they were totally not prepared for life. That nothing in their life had prepared them for success, except one of them was very optimistic, and the other one had a certain bulldog. You just can't keep pissing on me. I will not take it, kind of thing. But definite losers, and we've carried that through the rest of our work.
It must have been a surreal moment for you, having seen yourself as a TV guy for so long, to go to the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Did you feel something like a fraud? It's like, wait a minute, I'm from TV. I shouldn't be here with an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I've always felt that. Look, to this day, I've been writing movies 30 years, and I am a member of the committee of the writers branch of the Academy. We get together like 4 times a year, like 15 of us, and I've been on this for like 15 years, and to this day, as I walk in there and sit down on this committee, I remember to be amazed. I remember to sit there and go, I never even imagined trying to write a movie, and this is what I do. They called me up, 15 years ago and said, we'd like to invite you to be a member of the, of the executive committee of the whatever we're calling ourselves. I don't remember even. And you just go, holy crap, that's amazing. Without ego or anything, just like, unplanned, and when I talk about luck, it's not sort of this false modesty of, anybody could have done it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's still, I never had a plan. And I always ran into the people who it turned out, I didn't even realize at the time were the people I needed in my career at that moment. So, yeah, going to the Academy Awards was kind. It was, my wife was with me. That's what was great. It was a good night out for her. You felt like, well, she's got to be thinking she didn't make that bad a mistake. So that was good.
This business is usually so nomadic and so transitory, yet you stayed with Gary Marshall for so long, and now you've been with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer for so long. Can you talk about this sort of loyalty, and particularly now in the feature side with Ron and Brian?
I don't know if it's loyalty or if it's just inertia in my part, just fear. Oh, right, Babalu and I have been right. I'm living in the same house for 32 years. It's my great fear is that something will change. It's always been. I think Woody Allen probably wrote it funnier because he's written everything funnier than I have. At some point, in one of his movies, he says, change means death. Whatever however he put it. But no, I've like I said, I've always met the people that I felt were just exactly the right people that I needed at a particular time. I wasn't searching for them, but my first break was with Gary Marshall, and then you look and you go, geez, I could have either not gotten a break or gotten a break with 48 other people who would have taught me nothing, and then I come back I meet Babalu and my partner, I lose my partner, and Babalu is kind of like there, dying to write movies at the same moment I'm offered a movie. And I come back on Happy Days, and Ron is still there, but only for a few more months. If I'd been a few months late, he would have remembered me, but we wouldn't have had the experience of working together again after we hadn't for about 5 years. And so he's excited to do a movie with me, and it just these are people who are very valuable to me. They mean a lot to me in my life. And
What's
Brian,
it been like
you know,
watching the evolution of Ron Howard from the actor on Happy Days to the feature, Oscar award-winning feature director that you're now working with?
Ron always knew where he was going. Ron, in his quiet little modest way, is nobody's chump. You know, he had an, I wouldn't even say he had a plan, because that implies that he's actually knew how to do it. But he had a goal. He had a goal, and he was not going to just be like me, a feather in the wind, and see where the business took him. He was going to take himself where he wanted to go if he possibly could. So the transition, it's not like I saw him transition from Opie to a tycoon. He was the goods from the first time I met him. Gary said if I could buy stock in a person, I would buy stock in Ron. And that stock would be we'd be doing okay with that stock now. So you know, I felt the same. I always felt like my wife would actually. They'd say to me sometimes, she would meet Ron, and she would say to me, "You should be always conscious of where he is, what's going on." That's Besides, we like him. You know,
right.
Our families know each other. He's a very nice man. His wife is a lovely person. His kids are great. You know, but even for somebody outside the business, you'd go, that person's going to be a success.
Now, a number of the movies you two have done together, Gung Ho, League of Their Own, Parenthood, have all led to television series. Can you talk a little bit about what that's been like, going from TV to features, back to TV on?
That's been wrong to me, because we tried to do a thing that I know in my heart you can't do, but people keep telling me, no, do it. We want you involved, which is dabbling in TV, which does not give TV the respect it deserves. It's hard. Those people are great. Those people who do those shows, those Chuck Lorres and those people, they're fantastic, you know, and you should not be doing it left-handed, as we would always, and I would always say that. I said, I can't really give of myself. I'm really more interested in what the next movie I'm doing is now, because that's where my career now is. And they said, no, we want you to write the pilot, we want you to just sit there the first 6 episodes, whatever it is, we want you to just come a couple of times, read some scripts, stay in your office in Beverly Hills, we want you to do it, it'll be okay, we'll do it. And you're easily seduced by, not just by money, but just by seduction.
So what was it like? Let's go to each one. Gung Ho.
Gung Ho was a mess, as I recall. I recall that as a mess. We couldn't give it the time we wanted. We were really busy at the time. I mean, super busy. And they hired a guy, good producer. I don't want to even talk about who, something. He didn't seem very welcoming of our time there, particularly. He was not excited that the movie guys were going to come in and give him, he had been a showrunner on big shows, on good shows. I felt very unwanted there.
What about Babaloo Mandel? How do you feel about going back into TV with a feature project?
I think he thought it was a waste of his time.
Obviously, the show didn't do well. What about League of Their Own?
League was a little better because Penny was involved, but we were still... It's all perfect. I'm going to give you the same air. We were not giving it the amount of time it deserved, nor, to be honest, did we think it was a good idea for a TV series, particularly. But it was there. And it's just too, to be honest, I have people in my life who could use work in TV, and it's a little easier to get them work in TV than in the features. So I would often do a TV job to create work for people I love, and so that was kind of, and that's a good reason. As far as my humanity is concerned, it's not a good reason creatively, artistically to do a job. League was okay, but then you sort of like you're going Gina Davis, Tom Hanks. I'm going to do it this way now. And it's not that, you just, I don't know, you just go, well, we're rechewing our food.
But you did it with Odd Couple when there was a feature film and a play, and
yes,
yet it was still
yeah.
huge.
But,
or MASH.
Yes, but they really had the goods. You look at MASH today, the feature, and you miss Alan Alda. Okay, that's the difference. And I'm sure there are people who look at The Odd Couple, as brilliant as that is, and miss Jack and Tony. As great, Lemon and Matho, two of the greatest comedy film actors in the history of the medium. And they'll still go, oh, Jack and Tony are The Odd Couple. That's the difference. Nobody was going to look at any of these shows and go, oh, yeah, now I don't like Tom Hanks anymore. I'm making fun of somebody for no reason. I don't mean that. I just mean it just felt, to me, it was pointless. It just didn't, it's, we did one movie sequel in our whole careers, which was City Slickers 2. And to this day, we call it City Slickers 2, The Quest for Money. Because you're sitting there, you're going, no. And finally somebody says, we will pay you more than anyone has ever paid you to write a movie. And then you go, okay. And it wasn't just that. To be honest, we wanted to do it for Billy, whom we love. We love Billy Crystal. Just no one's been not like Ron and Brian and Gary and he's just been a absolutely charming person in our career, But so we did it for that reason also. But we don't like doing it again. We don't like going back.
Now, what about Parenthood? You went back twice.
Parenthood? No, once. We have nothing to do with the current show. We went back once. That we thought should be a TV series. That we thought when we were writing the feature, we thought we were writing a TV series. We wrote the pilot. We were very happy with the pilot. We thought it was the best. We thought the Parenthood pilot was the best TV work Babalu and I have ever done together. We were incredibly busy in features when that went on the air. We had so much going on. Plus, with Gary, I had a play being produced in Chicago the same summer that was being so they hired a guy again. We went up to see him, to give him some ideas. He could not have been colder and more unhappy to see us. It's like halfway through the meeting, Babalu went like this to me. So, excuse me, we went out and he said, he doesn't want to talk to you. Can't you get it? He doesn't want you here. I went, oh, yeah, that's why this is so bad, And I went home and never went back.
Did you like the show?
No.
What about the new one?
It's too different for me. I think it's probably a very good show that's too different for me.
You said that when you write, you always try to find yourselves in your characters. Is that what's missing for you from Parenthood?
I only saw the pilot. And, it was just a different tonality. It wasn't funny like our show was. To me, the whole point of it was to make it funny. I don't mean that's the whole point. The point was to get our lives on screen. But to me, I don't want to whine in public. I want to entertain. I want to be funny, right? And to me, when it stopped being, it's a little funny. I only saw the pilot, so it's a little funny. But when my kids say that it's good, and that it actually got better since then. They watch it. They're adults, my children. They say it's very good. But it was too close. It was too close because it had been all about me and Babalu and our kids and our wives, and it was just too close. And then when it was different, I didn't want to watch somebody else's interpretation of what had been, our autobiography.
Now, even though you guys are having great success in features, you still dabbled. Maybe dabbled's the wrong word, but you and Babalu still worked in TV doing pilots.
Yeah.
What was your approach to television?
Wrong.
And pilots?
Our approach was wrong. We were trying to hit and run. We were trying to get in and get out, and it you have to do it. You have to do it. You don't farm it out. It's you read it, and they send you the scripts, and they're sitting here, and we talk to each other, and so what don't we, and then you're trying to write by remote control, and people have they have justified ego about, about going, so what am I just do your notes? Not, it's like, I'm the one working all day here. I want to do it. This, to me, is a good scene. And they go, boy, they think that's a good scene. I don't think that's a good scene at all. And then you go, but they're working all day. They get there in the morning and they stay there all night, and you have to do their scene. And it's just bad. We've just done it wrong.
But you did do some very interesting pilots. There's Channel 99 about an independent.
Well, the pilot we worked on, yeah.
The small station, Mary Lou Henner's the station manager.
Yeah.
And you did an early pilot with Michael Richards, Herndon, which I think was one of his
yes.
earliest TV roles. Do you have any memories of those pilots that you'd like to share?
Herndon, I just remember we were working on a movie at the same time. And I just remember how funny he was. I just remember he did a bit with a water bottle, and it was genius. It was Gary's idea. We did it with Gary, and it was Gary's idea that he wanted to get something physical on TV, physical comedy again on TV. Saw this guy, who I guess it
was on
Fridays, and you said, yes, this guy is a genius physical comedian. As he later went on to prove that he could kill you by opening a door. Literally, he made you, he turned opening a door into a ballet. He was great, but for whatever reason, it didn't go. And Channel 99 we liked. It tested really badly. The audience didn't like any of the characters.
That's not a good sign.
No, they thought there was no love in the show. Everybody was angry at each other in the show, which is what we wanted to write and what NBC let us write, but not what anybody wanted to see. And then we just pack up a little bag of toys and go back and go back into features again. And it was I think we lacked that. We lacked the dedication, the real hunger to kind of just want it enough. It's a hard business. It's a tough, competitive business, and I think we're a little too soft for it.
What do you think of the What do you think of the current state of situation comedies on TV?
I have this philosophy about situation comedies on TV. It's like it's always up, and people are always saying that there was some era that was great and the current one is crap, and I never feel it's true. To me, it's the old joke. There were at one time there were so many network primetime half hours, and some of them were good. Now there are a lot fewer. So a lot fewer of them are good. What do they think? If they cut down from 40 to 10, they would only cut. They leave. They do that in movies too. The executive, they have a big meeting. They go on a retreat and they say, last year we made 15 movies and only 5 of them made money. So this year let's just make 5. You're like going, well, that's stupid. It's stupid on the face of it. So they yeah, of course there are fewer good sitcoms on now. There are fewer bad ones on now, too. I got news for you. There's just fewer. People don't, are not rhapsodic about the 16th best sitcom from 1974.
There's some fundamentals, though, about comedy that you think have changed or not being followed today or are being done very, very well today?
I see shows and I say that's just like the good shows that we saw, when every decade. When Friends came on in the 90s, I'd already been out of TV for years. I looked at it and I said, I know that show. And I don't mean that in a bad way like they're copy. It's a good, fresh show. I said, but that's, I hear the sound of it. Seinfeld was different. Seinfeld actually shook they kind of put it on a diagonal so that it actually sounds and feels different. Obviously, they're anime. Simpsons is different too, for obvious reasons. But no, the good ones feel like the good ones always felt. Raymond was not to me modern show in any particular way. It was a great show. You know, I didn't think it was like specifically a show of the millennium, a 21st century show, unlike the shows from the 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s. It was just a real good show now as opposed to a real good show then. So I don't, you know, I've always found things to watch. I watch a lot of sitcoms now. I watch a lot of them. I've always enjoyed the form. I love the form. I think it's like one of the great entertainment inventions of all time is sitcom. And I guess it was invented on radio, actually.
So you think the form is as strong today as it's ever been?
Well, I don't know if it's as healthy as it's ever been, just because I think there is competition from another kind of show that we didn't used to have that makes more sense economically in the short term for the people who are worried about things making economic sense. So I think it has to fight for its little plot of ground, but I think the people who act in it and the people who direct it and the people who write it and the people who produce, I don't think they like went away and there were only smart ones at one time and there are no smart ones. You know, nobody smart's doing it now. You know, the people at the office and Laurie and Tina Fey and I mean they're great. They're not any worse than MTM or Lear or Gary or you know the people who were doing Barney Miller in the 70s or any of these shows lost in the mists of time. You know, fashion changes. You change it to so, you know, everybody always said that 30 Rock will come on. They'll say, well, that's the new way to do it. That's the paradigm now. You have to do it this way. You can't do it like an old sitcom. But then Big Bang Theory comes on. And what's more like you used to do it than that? And again, I mean that as a compliment. You know, so what are we talking about? You know, it's just there's a little less space for it. They used to throw sitcoms on as the default position. We have to fill up this many hours a week, and sitcom was the default. You just said, holy shit, we just need more. I said it again, excuse me. Oh my goodness. We need program. So let's just get as many sitcoms. We just toss them on the air, and you know, and some of them will be great, and some of them were, and you know, but now that's not the default position. The default position isn't let's get another night of sitcoms. So there isn't as much to choose from. The Modern Family, you know, I mean, well, how did I leave that out? That was ridiculous of me to leave that out. You know, it's just. I don't, you know, I would actually say this. I would say more so than in any other era, the most popular sitcoms are also the most respected and award-winning. There used to be actually more of a split. I mean, All in the Family was an award-winning, Mary was award-winning and popular, but there used to be a lot more really, really popular sitcoms that you didn't nominate for Emmys, and shows you nominated for Emmys that, I mean, people complain that nobody watches 30 Rock, but it still has a huge presence in the culture. So, you know, I think people are finding the best shows, and for me, I wish there were more of them. I would rather watch a sitcom than anything else.
What do you think has been the key to your success, your long-time success in television?
Besides luck?
Besides luck.
Okay. I am a very stable person. You know, I have good life habits. I love it. I always loved it. I love the TV shows that came before me, and I love the movies that came before me. I'm very well behaved. You know, people are willing to, and I Babu and I kind of have a voice. You know, we really do. Our feeling is that when we're funny, we should be as funny as anybody, and when we're real, we should be as real as anybody. that you don't, that it's a false choice to sacrifice one for the other. We can't be as funny as a, you'll laugh till you crap kind of, that we don't feel like we have to not be as funny. We don't feel like we can't write as sincerely as a movie that is a movie without humor. And it's a style, and I'm certainly not saying we're the only people who have fashioned this style. And the other thing is that we were really happy writing. When I speak to college groups up there, I say I'm a writer. That's my actual profession. This is not a stepping stone till I get a directing gig or a producing gig. And I think we've just outlasted a lot of people doing that. The fact that we were not trying to become movie hyphenates, that we really just like to write, has served us really, really well. It might have seemed like a limiting career choice, but we were like the only writers that somebody could keep coming back to and saying, "Are you guys for hire? Do you guys looking for a gig?" And go, "Well, yeah, let's hear your idea." And you could actually hire us for decades. That we're available writers, we're working writers, and anybody else who had, this is not ego, anybody else who had remotely a shred of the success we have, whatever, changed their career format and became an industry and was not available. So we didn't do it out of any sort of smart career planning. Because when we had a couple of hit movies, all our agents came, we had a big meeting and said, how do we industrialize you? How do we turn you into the Ganz and Mandel machine? And we both said, we like going home early. I think we just write a few hours a day and get the hell out of there. And that actually, I think, turned out to help us. It kept us fresh and kept us available.
Is that still the case? Are you still those guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
What has been your proudest achievement and your biggest regret, either in TV or film?
In TV, I don't know if pride is the right word, but I love doing Busting Loose. They were my writers. I know I was Mark. I should be more modest, say our writers, and it was ours, but I'm just personalizing it. It was my show and my writers, and that was getting a job was my dream come true. Having that particular job was my ambition come true. It's a subtle difference. So that was the best. My regret was that I wasn't a better writer when I was working on The Odd Couple. That's my biggest regret. Jack and Tony deserved better from me. In features, the fact that people still 20 years later speak well of Parenthood is my happiest thing, because I loved that movie so much, and we were just picketing a few years ago, as you may recall, and writers would, mostly they don't know who I am. I'm not recognizable. I'm not a celebrity, but if somebody would point it out, they would come and they go, "Oh, Parenthood is a movie," and I go, "Oh, you're making my day. You're just making my day," And then the biggest regret movie-wise was that Mr. Saturday Night wasn't a bigger hit for Billy. I don't care. We had a big string of hits at that time, so we were able to take it. But it was Billy's dream movie come true, and he did a fantastic job. Fantastic job. And people just didn't go see it. They don't want to see it. And he deserved to have a big, fat, crazy hit out of that, because Bobo and I were just proud to be riding in the back seat on that car, just helping, to whatever extent we helped him shape it, and but for him that should have been the jewel of his career.
What's your advice? You mentioned you go to colleges and stuff now. What's your advice to aspiring writers in this ever-changing entertainment marketplace?
Man, I really now have started to say that I'm not a person you go to for advice anymore. That the industry has changed so much. I don't even think anything I know about how you succeed in the business is applicable anymore. I think I'm just here on my momentum and talent. I mean, I think I still write well, but the fact that people already know who I am, I don't think I know I don't think, both my sons are writers. And so if I had advice to give anybody, and I'm not helping them much, to be honest. Well, one of them is very young, so he really hasn't had it. Yeah, the other one is 32 and has worked a lot and has had a lot of jobs, but has not had the good luck that I had, where he gets, like a beautiful job that just opens up everything. He takes care of his family, earns a living. It's a hard go, and I don't have much to tell him. I really don't. Right. Obviously we're lucky in that we have a craft that you can actually practice at home rather than in front of the mirror. Try directing at home. But I mean, people do. They get good. They find little theater groups and things that allow them to direct something. But you can write. But I used to say. I used to tell them to definitely start in TV, that was the wide end of the funnel. I don't know if that's true anymore. I really don't. I'm not sure I'm giving good advice when I suggest that. I've heard agents say to me, no. They'll never buy a TV thing from a young writer. Tell your young writers to write a screenplay and someone will option or buy it, and then they'll send it to you and Babalu to fix it. But they'll at least be on the map. They'll have sold something. They want the youth and the TV. They feel you have to be a veteran to know how to do a TV show. But one idea, they'll buy a young person's screenplay. So I don't really know anymore.
What are your projects now? What are you working on?
Man, we have a movie that we wrote that we loved, that we raised, a producer and ourselves raised. We decided not to take to the studios, and we raised independent financing for. And we actually raised the money. And we're currently interviewing directors to shoot this year. And we've never done this before. We've never done a movie outside the studio system. But we find we have less and less in common with what the studios want. But we still like to write, and we still write well. And we wrote this thing, and it got a lot of cast interested, and directors interested, and financiers interested. So we did that. We just rewrote a movie at Fox, one of those funny for money jobs, of which we've done 1 billion over the last 30 years. Our fingerprints are on more movies than you could ever imagine. We just did one of those. That was fun to do. And we're actually been trying to think what we'd like to do next. We don't just rush from project to project like we used to. We used to have a day between projects that made us nervous. Now we finish something, we breathe, we come in, we talk to each other for a few weeks, we take some meetings, we go, what would you like to do? I don't know, what would you like to do tonight, Marty? So we write at the same tempo we used to, but we decide at a slower tempo.
Do you enjoy the script doctoring? Does it bother you not to get the credit for the
Oh,
jokes?
Never bothered us not to get the credit. We begged for no credit. We always wanted to keep those careers separate. That was fun sometimes on two levels. We liked, this is a job. This is not a hobby. So we like the income. This is actually how we feed our face. It's a real job. And you got to know people. You became a hero. You fixed somebody's script, and then those people at that studio liked you, and that producer liked you, and that so that's important to keep yourself bubbling. But there's nothing like writing one of our actual blank page one scripts. What if though it was a completely different level of fulfillment.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about your career in TV or in features that you'd like to mention?
I can't believe I've left out anything. I've never heard anyone talk so much as I've talked today. No.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the time.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, because I have to tell you, as I said this to you off camera, I spend so little time talking about my TV days, and reliving it has it's bubbled up in me how exciting it was, how much it meant to me, and how just how thrilling it was while I was doing it.
So you'll be writing a pilot after we leave today?
I'm not sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.